market one.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that is in the futures market that is going up to new record price.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys for attending this webinar. My name is Casey Lau. I'm from caseylau.com, and I've been doing this type of webinars every week since 2012. So it's more than 10 years I've been doing this. So it was long before Zoom was born, right? So last time when I first started, I think I used GoToWebinar or something, and then Zoom came out, and then hey, everybody go to Zoom. Then I also went to Zoom. So we are now on Zoom, and then this webinar also concurrently streaming live on Facebook as well. So you might be watching on Facebook. So guys, if you're on Facebook and you want to interact with us on Zoom, because we interact more with the attendees on Zoom, then let us know on Facebook. So I'll paste the link so that you can get on the Zoom webinar too. Okay, awesome. Without further ado, let's introduce today's speaker. We have Evelyn Tan and also PC Wong. They are both authors, right? They were used to working in the corporate. No, they are doing very well, high fly in the corporate, and then now they are on their own, right? Doing the things they are passionate about. So we'll let Evelyn and PC to share with you what they are prepared for next year, 2024, like Wood Dragon year. So who is going to start first, Evelyn or PC?
Yes, I will start first. Yeah, okay, as
awesome,
usual.
awesome.
My partner always
ladies
first. Yeah. Okay. So good morning, Casey, BC, and also all the attendees here. Thank you for attending this session together with us. And also, first of all, I also would like to thank Casey for allowing us this platform to showcase our work to all the audiences here. Thank you very much. Actually, 2024, we have actually done a 2023 one last year. So this one is 2024, and we will look into next year. I'm sure this is a rabbit year, right? So if you know Chinese astrology, we calculate 2024 is actually a dragon year. And the elements that with the stem is actually wood. So it's a wood dragon year. So when people thought of dragon, it's something like, very grand, very big. So let's see what really the dragon year has for us in 2024 through the astrology and global trends. What I'm doing now is that using astrology to predict what the global trends will be, and later on BC will share his part on his research on the global trend forecast. So we are using two methods to forecast what the year has in store for us, okay, in terms of the global trends. Why global trends? Because global trends is the one that impacting the movement of prices, commodities, and also the stock market prices. That's why for investor, this is also very important. Yeah, so it will help you to also identify opportunities and threats that will help you to boost your investment and to protect your investment as well. Okay. Yeah. The top agenda which I have for you all today is that let's recap on 2023. Because our first collaboration together with me and BC, we have a first collaboration last year to write a book on 2023 astrology and global trends of the water rabbit year. So let's recap and see, whether our forecast is okay or not. Be the judge. And then after that, Chinese, we will go through some basics of Chinese astrology and global trends. Why Chinese astrology can be used to predict a global trend for those who are new in Chinese astrology. By the way, who are new to Chinese astrology can type A in the chat box. I would like to know my audience so that I can go slower. Anyone? Okay, so after that, we will also go into something very exciting. We are already in the new era in 2024. I should explain what is the meaning of new era. Why, that is an explanation of the phenomenon or the events that we are seeing since 2020 till now. The instability, the war, the COVID, and all this is because of transitioning to a new era. Okay. And also, PC will go through the 2024 preview financial and preview of geopolitical, and we shall have a conclusion, Q&A, and also I have some gift for you all. Maybe you will find this gift to be quite useful. Okay. Okay, so before I begin, just in case those who are new in this platform, because I see some of y'all are quite new. Florence says that this is the first time her exposure to astrology, especially Chinese astrology. Let me just introduce myself, take 1 minute to introduce myself. I was an engineering professional serving in MNC for the past 30 years with those big MNC companies. And as part of my job in the multinational corporation, I manage suppliers because I'm a supplier quality manager. And at that point of the time, I have the privilege to work with over hundreds of manufacturing companies such as LG, Panasonic, Motorola, and Samsung that supplying parts to the company I serve at that point of the time. And to achieve quality, productivity, and efficiency. And as part of that also, we are also into supply chain, understand, the dynamics of the global trends, how it impact each and every of this commodity. Okay, for example, I was in lithium battery. For example, there's 1 year that cobalt was short, so that all these things we will look into it as well together with my commodity manager, because all this will impact the quality of the product. So this is how I got interested in global trends. And I also, have some knowledge in astrology, and I realized that these two knowledge are quite, they are quite aligned. Okay, and offline, I like Chinese astrology. I've been studying Chinese astrology for the past over 10 years, I think. I got involved since, I think, 2000 something, and with various masters, okay, with quite a number of masters. And I also author 6 books. Some are related to manufacturing engineering, some are personal development where I share about corporate world, having been there for 30 years. And also recently I happen to have very privileged to have a chance to collaborate with PC Wong also in this astrology and global trends. We are the creator of astrology and global trends, where we will use 2 methods to forecast the energy of the month and also of the year. And together with him, we have already written 3 books, which is the Water Rabbit Year last year. We shall go through a bit of that. And then this book on Unlock Your Wealth Potential. Okay. And also currently this one on what the Wood Dragon Year will have in store for you guys. Okay, basically right now, after I have retired from the corporate world since 2020, I am now creating contents, like using my knowledge to create contents, books, and also YouTubes. I have 2 YouTube channels as well. Okay, so this is about me. Okay, yeah, and yeah, just now I talked about we are the creators of astrologies and global trends, and our forecast is all aligned to planetary energy fields and also trend research. And most of us will ask how accurate is our forecast. We will say that about 80%, and we do have a small following of memberships that we hope to grow in the future to make a profitable investment based on the energy or on the 5 elements energy, on which sector should be the prosperous sectors that you should focus on. So our work is actually available at our YouTube channel. Later on, we will drop a link where you get, all the links to our YouTube channel, both PC and mine as well. Okay. Yeah. So the disclaimer here that this is not an investment talk. We will not recommend, anything that's related to companies to invest. No stock advice will be given. We will just based on our study on the global trends and also the 5 elements energy for you to use as a guideline for your 2024 investment. Okay, so let's recap a little bit on 2023. Last year, I remember that around this time, right, we were here also, to share the energy map of 2023. Basically, what I mean by energy map is that in Chinese astrology, we have 5 elements, which is wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And they are all in the creation and in the production and in a countering sort of relationship. Okay, so and what we can do now in the past, that people will plot all these 5 elements energy using hand and use a 10,000 year calendar, because the planets, it's based on the planet movement, and we know that the planet move in a cycle, so all this will become a cycle eventually. But now we have software already. I can easily translate any Gregorian calendar date, even your birth date, into this 5 element energy chart. That means this is represent the year 2023. We know that it's a rabbit year here. Okay, and let me just, hopefully I can annotate. Yeah, the rabbit year here. Okay, and actually we call it water rabbit because the stem, we have both the stem and the branch. So we always look at the branch, because every time, if you are Chinese, everyone will ask you that, what animal sign are you born in? What year? I'm not what roughly what year. And in olden days, we are very scared to tell our elderly people that, what animal sign, because they can roughly guess our age already, which is not very advantage for women. Okay, so here last year it was actually a water rabbit year. Okay, so this is represent 2023, and then the month here is February. Okay, February month is always a tiger month. Even the month also have animal sign, because every time we just focus on the year. Even the month also we have animal sign one. The 12 months represent also the 12 animal sign as well. But the stem is actually a wood tiger. Okay, so this is representing February. So this is called a pillar, second pillar, and then we have 4th of February here. Is the third pillar here. We call it day pillar. So this pillar is very important. It's because in every year, 4th of February 2023, if those Chinese will know that this is an energy transition point, which is called Li Chun, or the arrival of spring, which is a very important date. Means that the energy for the year has already changed to a new one. And last year, this pillar here, everyone on earth is actually represented by water. We are all, the general human population is all represented by water. We call it day master, or this is the base. I like to call it as base energy. Some Chinese astrologists or some Chinese metaphysics people, they will call it as day masters, but I call this as a base, because this is the base of the chart. What is water to the chart itself? And it's a snake day. And also, if you look at the hour, which is 10:33 a.m., even the day hour, 24 hours, actually we have 12 animal signs. So 2 hours represent 1 animal sign. Okay, so this is the snake hour. Yes, you can see from the chart here, this is a very heavy fire chart, because the wood here will even create more fire. So this is why that this year we have a lot of fiery things going on. What are the fiery things? Like war and all these are fire. Militaries, unrest, all these are fire. Don't you think so that this year we have a lot of wars going on? Okay, and this is the number one signal that is very clear. And also forest fire, because here the wood here, the fire is burning. I think this year every year we have forest fire, but I think this year we have even more. You can check the news if you wanted to confirm. So all this I translated in the picture form. By the way, actually you can translate this through a software in the internet, but this is my version. My version, I have picture. Easier to read the chart. Okay, easier for you to see the elements also. So last year we have very strong fire. We have also strong woods, and then very little water. That's why logistics not doing very well. Metal also not much attention, and earth also not much attention. So this is how prosperous doesn't mean that the thing will go up in price, but it's just that it will receive more attention. Fire also represent technology. So don't you think that this year we have suddenly a very, very prosperous outburst of AI, artificial intelligence? So this is where all this comes in, okay? I can. Oh, why I need to annotate again. Okay, let me share again. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So can see my screen again now?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you can see war and unrest. This is natural disasters. A lot of fire related in Hawaii. Okay. And also heat wave. In June this year, there was heat wave because we also predicted that at that point of the time, there will be heat wave in June, July, because the weather was very hot. And from the monthly energy chart, also we can see that there's a lot of fire. Okay, and also technology is making headlines, especially AIs. Okay, and also bank is also making sort of headlines in a way because fire bank is actually metal, so fire sort of melts the metal. So a lot of banks are having some problem here as well. So this is also one of the one of the reason for some of the collapses in bank. Okay, and then we also said about because of the weather condition which is not very good, and if hit the food supply, and mainly last year's this is inflation, it's mainly driven by the inflation of the food itself, the food stuff itself. Okay, and yeah, so these are the the events that we have predicted, and most of them does happens, does comes to the past in front of us, okay, through what we have predicted and written in this book. Okay, so and also 2023 we predicted fire, a lot of attention, wood, food price will go up, water not much attention compared to the activities in 2022 where there was a lot of logistic problem. Property was quite stagnant, and metal it was not enough supply, but nobody realized that except for the bank that is having a lot of punishment. That's why we have a lot of problems with bank last year, this year. Okay, so let's go to now 2024. Before I go to 2024, let me explain first what is Chinese astrology all about. It is not something that is superstitious, but it's based on very scientific studies of the solar system and the movement of the 5 planets. Okay, we are the 3rd planets from the sun, Earth, and then in the past ancient days, people sky were clearer at that time. And in ancient days, 2000 plus years ago, I think, also all these people has nothing better to do. They study the movement of all these 5 planets that they are moving around the sky. That's why they are called 5 moving objects. If you know Cantonese, they are if you know Chinese, they are called 五行. Okay, so all these elements, Mercury actually represent water. So we can see in the past ancient days, we cannot see Uranus and Neptune because we don't have telescope at that time. But all these people can see those 5 planets: Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, and Saturn. Okay, and from each movement, They chart the movement of the planets and also charts the events that is going on. So this is how they sort of calculate those 5 elements energy: the wood, fire, metal, earth, and also water. They are actually just energy form. That's all. Okay. So each planet has its energy that affect the life on Earth. So for Mercury, actually is water. Venus is metal. Mars represents fire. Saturn represents Earth, and then Jupiter represents wood energy. Jupiter and Saturn is one of the biggest. I think Jupiter is the biggest planet in the solar system. Saturn is also the second biggest. There's like 2 of them, the magnetic field will have very big impact on Earth. And if you are from a Chinese culture, you will know that, we call that every year we have to pray to the Tai Sui or Duke of Jupiter. Why? Because sometimes they sort of align to your planetary position and they causes you some emotional issues. So this is one of the reasons that people likes to sort of says that you have to pray to the Tai Sui, but actually it's just the energy. And all these planets, how they move around the sun, do they ever go out of the sun? Because there is certain energy fields that gives them or keeps them in the orbit, and their energy fields will have an impact on this Earth. Okay, so this is how in ancient days they chart out all the 5 elements chart of the 4 pillar chart that I show you, which is the year, the month, the day, and also the hour. From the 5 elements, if you know what they are representing, then you will know how to predict the astrology part of it already. Okay, it's just as simple, no rocket science. Okay, so in Chinese astrologies and global trends, this 5 elements chart, we can use it to predict weather. Predict weather means that predict harvest. In fact, in the ancient days, they have one almanac book that predicts the weather. They will know that whether the weather is good for the crops, because last time people are from agricultural society, many thousands years of birth, and they could also predict disaster, as I have predicted that this year fire, and then the mankind generally what they represent. Okay, so in terms of how we can predict through global trends and investment is that we know what the wood elements stand for in terms of industries. They stand for agriculture, wood furniture, fashion, clothing, and education. And the planet itself is Jupiter. They represent growth. So once we look at the energy is prosperous in wood, then we will know that roughly that whether agriculture will do well or will have a problem. Okay. Then in terms of excuse me, in terms of planet of Mars, it represents fire, means that passion or happiness. So the industries as represented by fire is technology, energy, military, food, restaurant, and entertainment. Okay. And then the next one for Earth is Saturn. It represents stability and security. The industries will be properties, natural resources, and insurance. The main one. Okay. And then Venus will be the metal, means that is finance, automobiles, precious metal, and heavy machinery. And also lastly, Mercury, it represents wisdom, is consumer goods, shipping, transportation, and tourism. Okay. So approaches, excuse me, approaches to the yearly forecast in Chinese astrology that we have done is that how we use different tools. Actually, just now I show you the 4 pillar chart, which is actually we call it the 八字, 8 characters, because 4 times 2, 4 pillars times 2, the heavenly stem and the earthly stem, we earthly branch we call it 八字. Okay, so this is one of the way to forecast a year. Secondly, we can also use an I Ching to forecast a year. Okay, we call it evaluation of the year Gua, which is also in the book. And then the yearly chart of tumultuous. Okay, this is more like for war strategy, but every year they have a chart. So roughly we read the chart, we will know that also that what will happen to the year. So there are actually multiple methods. These are the four main ones. And then lastly is Mother Earth Oracle, or we call it, Jing. Here also will have certain poems, because in ancient days, people likes to quote things in poems. You have to decode it. Okay, so that's why one thing about Chinese metaphysics is also not that easy to learn, because of you need to recode everything and understand what does these few lines of poems means to the year. Okay. So let's go through. So far, everyone is okay, not lost. Okay, so let's go through the energy chart for this year, which is for next year, okay, 2024, which it happens to be 4th of February, 2023, 16:25 p.m. Okay, so what we can see here is that this year, actually, the Earth is very strong. You can see Earth, 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 and whatever that happens in the branch one is even stronger because they are rooted inside. So whatever that is rooted one means that their energy will be even higher. Okay, and then you can see wood, because these two can be rooted, the fire, and also this year we have more metal. However, if you realize that this year does not have much of water. Okay, so I think the most important point for people that they want to know that this year got wealth or not. So one of the things that wealth is something that the general population control. If you look at this year, the reference point, the general population becomes the Earth already. So Earth is that people will control water. Water is the wealth elements. That means in 2024, there is not much of a wealth element in the chart itself. Okay, so expected that it's also going to be challenging because of very little. Whereas you can see, let me go back to 2023. You must tell me that 2023 is so challenging because there's a lot of fire, because you can see that water is controlling fire, right? But you have too much also a problem. Anything or all these elements, you can have too much or too little. Okay, so they will create problems. If you have, we want balance. That's the best part. Everything has to be balanced so that they can in a harmonious cycle of creating, producing each other, countering, controlling each other. So this is what we want in a chart, in 5 elements chart. Okay, similarly, like health, we also want balance, because all these Chinese traditional TCM also, they use 5 elements, right? So they all want their 5 elements, like each of these organs in the body, they will also represent an element. So they also want all this to be balanced. So this is the meaning of it. Okay. So in 2024, let's look at the outlook of the economy sector that's related to the 5 element itself. Like earth, property, you will gain quite a lot of attention. Okay, but I cannot really foresee. Later on, maybe PC can support me that the price will go up lah. Okay, so I cannot foresee that, but definitely it will receive a lot of attention. And then in terms of wood, the food price will go up because the weather is going to be challenging. Last year is going to be hot and dry. This is going to be wet. Okay, because all the wet element are inside there already. Going to be a lot of rainfalls. And then fire will be quite prominent again. Although it looks like number 3, actually 2 and 3 is almost the same level of energy. So it's going to be quite prominent. I will tell you why fire is prominent later on, even though it looks like it's number 3. Then metal, it will get more attention compared to 2023. And logistic travel will not have much of attention or activities. Okay, so let's go through 2024 as an interesting year. We talk about 2024. So in Chinese astrology, we have so-called the Earth cycle. Okay, in Chinese they call it 地运 or 地 one. Okay, so every 20 years we will change one cycle. And it is not something that is superstitious. It's based on alignment of the planet. If you go and check Google, every 20 years, two of the biggest planet, which is Saturn and Jupiter, they will align together, okay, to the Earth. So when the two very big planets align to the Earth, means that the energy could be very big, and it shows the transition itself. Okay, I think in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around Christmas, where Jupiter and Saturn, they are the closest. We call it the Great Conjunction at that point of the time. So this shows that, the errors, the signify itself when these are all, magnetic energies that impact the Earth. And each of these 20 years, they have a governance of one of the 5 elements. Okay, so we are actually in 2004 to 2023, which is 20 years, we are actually in a flux cycle at the point of the time. And in 1984 to 2003, we are actually in the metal cycle. 对过, this one like a mouth, is also metal. So at that time, I think bank was very prominent. The stock exchange was also very prominent at that time, which is metal industries. And also because this is a mouth, songs created by that era, we have like Beyond, and we grew up in the era actually, beyond even the American songs and all this, they are all also very nice song. Even till today, it's like evergreen, like Zhang Hoyao, what was his name already? Okay, Zhang Xueyou,
Leslie
Fun.
Cheung. In
Leslie Cheung.
fact, a lot of the if you even look at the movies, the recent movies remake are also, a number of them are actually based on the 1980s movies.
Yeah.
And you see that a re-emergence of topics here that is from that era itself. So they even in the Western media, they say that the 1980s and 1990s were the most creative age
golden
of Hollywood.
era. Yeah. Golden era, because even the songs, the English song also very nice at that time. All those Western songs is also very nice.
Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah, that's right. Pet Shop Boys, and also I don't know, I forgot the most of it. Okay, so I'm in period 7, which is metal, period 8, which is earth. That's why, and then period 9, which is now we are in 2024, which is next year, that officially, because this energy do not just come in directly, they will transition one. Not suddenly, today, tomorrow, I come in already. They will transition over, these few years. That's why whenever the end of an era, everything is very unstable. Like in year 2004, we have SARS, okay, at that point, 9/11 incident. And also in the 80s, we have, AIDS starts to come in at that point of the time. And then if you go earlier, the 2 World Wars, if you realize they are 20 years apart. The Vietnamese War is at period 6. So the 2 World Wars, they are actually, very 20 years apart. So it's also signify a transition of era. So it's actually a sort of a very scientific way to, to sort of describe all these things. And besides that, there are also 60-year cycles, which more planets are tend to align, so the error will be bigger. And then after that, the total time, because period 1 to 9, there will be times by 20, so it's 180 years. Okay. So I already told you about, the Great Conjunction in December of 2020. So this one, because of the alignment of Jupiter and also Saturn at the peak, and shows that the transition itself also. So we are transitioning from a Kengua, which is Earth. In I Ching, we have image to sort of represent them. So Kengua is Earth, to the fire, we call it Li Gua. In the new era of, kick in on 2024 officially, but in these few years, as I said, the energy are changing. Okay, so Earth to Fire period, for the benefit of those that just joined this platform, actually I've shown this maybe last year. So in 2004 to 2023, it was a stable Earth era. We have employment for life, right? When you go for a company, you work for life. And at that time also, Keng Gua also represent, they are young man's era. So all these people, I think you recognize most of them, right? Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Michael Dell, Mike Zuckerberg. Okay, so they are all, in this type of era, stable mountain, financial boom. And also, I think at that 20 years also, property seems to boom very high. Okay. So next is that the flickering fire era. We have women now starts coming up, a lot of women entrepreneur. Okay. And now like GM also, we have Mary Barra taking over as the CEO, which is very rare for American companies. The women CEO, especially, companies like GM. Okay. So right now, it started with COVID-19, and then we have social media, we have influencer that wanted to command attention because fire is visible, ma. Everyone wants to be seen, okay, including me also. Okay, so this is something that from an introvert we had to become extrovert. Okay, so this is
I
what it
think,
is.
Evelyn, if I may interject, yeah.
Yes.
We also see that in the last few years alone, there is a very high visibility of live streaming for businesses. Where the whether it's through TikTok or through Facebook live streaming and
Social
all those,
media.
where people would want to sell a product. And in China itself, it's the rage. And of course, a lot of people were saying that a lot of Chinese youth are unemployment. Therefore, the China economy is not going to do well and all those. But a lot of young Chinese, they are actually into the streaming business. And one of the key things that people like to look at demographic is that when they see the demographic of China, like gaining full employment, they see the huge drop in the late teens to early 20 to the mid 20s. There's no full employment. They predict that China is collapsing. There's not enough jobs for the young people. But the young people are actually into the live streaming business. And if you look at one part of that, of course, you will realize that the demographic is signaling problem. But what a lot of people fail to realize is they do not want to check the tax revenue account. The government tax revenue actually increased. So if, let's say, the tax revenue increased, that means that these people who are doing live streaming, although they are not said to be fully employed, but they are still paying taxes because if you don't pay taxes in China, you can get very heavy penalty. So actually, the tax revenue from the government increased as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Agree. Because actually, you can see nowadays, people just go to the social media, and there's one lady who sell things. She give 3 seconds for all the things. I think within 1 month she get like 100 millions of sales. I in renminbi. I also surprised.
Yeah.
So this is how crazy this era is. People just go live streaming, become visible. People can see you because fire is all about people seeing you. No more hiding. Earth can be quiet, right? Okay. So generally we look at Li Gua. This is the image of a Li Gua. Top and bottom full. The middle part is empty. So fire means that it represents brightness and clarity, energy and passion. That's why people are now more into energy healing, into people likes all these spiritual things, transformation, and it's fast burning. That's why TikTok become very popular. And now we have YouTube Shorts, which is less than 1 minute. Everything is fast. Okay. So external and attract attention. independence and equality, because fire burn, like, then Li Gua is also a middle-aged women's era because it represents second daughter in the family. We have the 8 mentions Gua, so Li Gua is second daughter, means that middle-aged women. And sometimes you also have flickering mental state, and also employment, because like flickering fire instead of like stable earth. As that people, go for those gigs already. Some people, some companies, they prefer to hire you on a, contract basis. Okay. Yeah. So you can learn, actually, if you are interested to learn the 20 years, we call that period 9, the Li Gua period. So you can learn about, the period 9 first 5 years in our book. Our book is actually available in popular MPH, Shopee, Lazada, and so far we have, I think, garner a few 5-star review, right? BC. We
I
also
think in Shopee we have additional 2 more 5-star review. I think that's 9 in Shopee,
okay.
1 in MPH, and 1 in Lazada.
Yeah.
But it's all 5
Okay.
stars.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can also check our past video later on, and we will give you all this link into one link here, and then it's all available in that in that page. All this link here, and then you can download a free chapter if you are interested in the book itself. That to to look at what are the opportunities for the next first 5 years in the future. Okay, for this one.
In fact, some of our prediction that we wrote the book early part of the year, they have now been proven correct. Way back we already say that the US sanctions on technology is not going to work, and that the captains of the industry in China, where technology is concerned, will actually achieve breakthrough. And then later part of this year, we have the Kirin 9000 chip that is able to allow Huawei to go back into the 5G phone business. And also, we predicted that the unmanned vehicles, or UAVs, will soon make way for flying taxis. And just early part of this month, China has given a company the authority to start its flying taxi service on a trial basis.
Yes, that's right. So it's actually happening. This period 9 is very fast. Fire is very fast, right? So it's happening faster than we anticipated. Although we already anticipate all this energy will comes in, and we have already done the book preview at Casey's platform. I think about a few months ago. Okay, so yeah, so I think this is what my talk is all about. Yeah, okay, thanks Casey for helping to drop the link there. So actually, just let me share a bit about the link itself, how it works, so that you guys can know all this. Let me just share. New share. Okay, yeah, we can share this. Okay, you can see once you go to this link, you will see all the all the book. Unlock Your Wealth Potential, a free chapter download is here. Unlock your the ebook purchase is here, but you can purchase it in the bookstore, no problem also. So this link here, once you click, it will go into the free chapter downloads, or even the ebook. We have the ebook format and also the physical book format as well. Okay, so from here. Okay, so yeah, so over to you, BC. That BC will introduce himself, and he will talk about his research on the global trend to see whether it aligns with what is predicted in the Chinese astrology parts. Okay, yeah. Let me just go back to the screen sharing. Okay, here. Share it. Once can see my screen. Okay, here. Yeah, can see my screen already. Yeah. Okay.
So
go
I
ahead.
think I've been working with Casey for close to almost 7 years, I think.
Yeah, many years.
Yeah. So I first written a book called Invest in Foreign Share way back in 2014. Eventually went into Popular's top 10 nonfiction bestseller in the month of August 2014. And subsequently, I wrote a book called Invest in REITs in 2016, which went into its third print. And then I wrote an ebook just to test the ebook market strictly, where I wrote the book Global Economic Collapse, which was published in May 2020, where I already predicted that there'll be financial chaos in the coming years. And due to high unsustainable debt, I also predicted a number of things. And of course, previously, I've also been working with Bursa Malaysia, UOB, Hong Kong Investment Bank, RHB, Kanaga, and Inter-Pacific Securities in live seminars. Then I appear in several media, and I actually appeared once in Banana TV, where I talk about cryptocurrencies. So at that time, that was, I think, in 2020, late 2020, if I'm not wrong, 2018. I can't recall, but I was invited as a guest, and I say that well, if you want to take the risk, you can. At that time, Bitcoin was hovering around $18,000. So of course, after I talk about it, few years later, Bitcoin actually went up to $67,000. And I also co-found several programs. One is with Casey Lau, and the other is with Wealth Fort. So next. Evelyn, next slide.
Okay, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the links to my Facebook and also to my YouTube. Can continue, Evelyn.
Yeah, okay. Because I already put in the link also in the just on the web page I show you.
So let's look at what the year would unfold in 2024, where the economy is concerned. Now, if we look at the GDP, year on year to date, the US is up 2.9% for 2023, and it's up 4.9% quarter on quarter. The Eurozone is up 0.1%, and quarter on quarter is down 0.1%. China is up 4.9% year on year, and quarter on quarter is up 1.3%. Japan is down to negative 2.1% year on year, and quarter on quarter is down 0.5%. Now, this is already telling you that things are not going as well as many governments intended them to be. Especially when we look at Japan. Japan government, despite all other central banks have been raising rates, Japan government is still doubling down, okay, in supporting the bond market, the Japanese bond market. And of course, this would eventually lead to the weakening of the yen and subsequent inflation in Japan. So that is why Japan has now entered into a period where it cannot raise interest rate because of the huge amount of bonds that the government hold, and because of the tremendous debt that constantly need to be financed with even more debt. In fact, the debt to GDP of total debt in Japan is close to 400 to 500%, but government debt is closer to about more than 250%. So that is why Japan will continue to print money to buy bonds to support it, but meanwhile, Japan will face inflation. And US is going to enter into the same phase eventually, because the US debt is also very unsustainable. Okay, so Europe, we all know that Europe has already shot itself in the foot by sanctioning Russia, where its access to cheap gas has been has been sanctioned. Okay, and not only that, the NATO itself has destroyed the Nord Stream pipeline. So Europe does not have cheap gas, and because of that, there's rapid deindustrialization in Europe. In fact, we predicted this in our book, Water Rabbit Year, where we say that Eurozone will actually deindustrialize, and things is going to be much worse, because any economy that needs to grow must have a manufacturing base. When you have lost your industrial base, that means you need to import a lot. An economy cannot thrive on consumption alone. You see, the US strive on consumption and financialization of assets, but their manufacturing base is actually very small versus several decades ago, because a lot of the manufacturing has gone to China, and China has very strong manufacturing base and will continue to increase its manufacturing base, because China is right now the world's factory. So moving forward, I think that we will see splintered groups of economic development, whereby you have some regions where you will see economic decline, and in some region you will see economic well-being. Okay, so you just have to look. Another thing which support the thesis is when you look at the retail sales. For example, retail sales is up 2.3% year on year, but it's down negative 0.9% year on year if we minus the inflation, because retail sales is normally the nominal value. But if you take into consideration which actually increase the price of the retail goods, then net off is the real retail sales is actually negative 0.9%. And then Euro retail sales is down 2.9%. And if we net off inflation, is down negative 5.8%. China retail sales is 7.6%, but net after inflation is 7.8%. Why? Because China inflation is negative 0.2%, which means the prices have come down. Then of course we have a lot of people screaming, China is in a deflation and all those. And this is incorrect, because every society, if they want to continue growing, they need to have both consumption, okay, and a steady price. If let's say price is unsteady, which means inflation, then the consumption will actually drop. But if price is within a range, okay, then consumption will continue to grow. Now, if let's say the inflation is negative 10%, then maybe we should be more worried. But you see China's CPI, it has been hovering around negative 0.2 to positive 0.2. So it's within a range. And the thing is, China has, consumption is increasing, the retail sales is increasing. If let's say inflation is down, but retail sales is also down, then you might have a case for a deflation. But since retail sales is up, then there is nothing to worry about. And then Japan retail sales is up 5.8% year on year, and 2.8% net after inflation. Now, this is in September, okay? But with the Japanese yen collapsing massively in the month of October, when the data comes out in October, I think we will see that Japan will probably have higher inflation in October, and then the retail sales in Japan could drop in October. Next slide.
Is this the one?
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so the next one. Yeah, correct. So challenges when we look at the 2024. I believe that US, EU, and Japan would look weak heading into 2024. This is mainly because of unsustainable debt, public, private, and corporations. In fact, if you look at it, in US alone, household debt has reached a new record high, and credit card debt has reached a new record high, and auto loans, subprime auto loans default has reached a new record high, all dating back all the way to 1994. So this is all because of unsustainable debt. And when that debt cannot be sustained, then you will see people giving up on a number of things. For example, household debt is a new record high, just as credit card debt is a new record high, when credit card interest rate is closer to around 23 to 25%. So what will likely to happen is that the household will actually save and consume less because they have a tremendous amount of debt to service. So that would eventually eat into the economy. Then we have sanctions and trade wars, okay, which lead to imbalances in supply. So there is right now a very cyclical, okay, behavior in the commodities market. Sometimes it increases because certain parties reassert their, let's say oil, cutting production in oil. Then there are also sanctions against Chinese technology that reassert itself after a lull period. So all this is creating imbalances in supply. But what we can see readily is that the sanctions on Chinese technology companies have not worked at all. And that is why you see that Samsung net profit has declined by over 90% because it cannot sell to the world's largest chip market. Okay, and just as Samsung lost its leadership in the memory chip. Okay, you have YMTC right now emerging as the biggest player, and just as Lam Research lost its market in China's EDA, then you see Chinese EDA now securing 84% of the market. So there is no stopping China because China constantly reinvests back into the R&D. Now, if you have read our book, Unlock Your Wealth Potential, we have a very dedicated segment on technology. And you will see why, China is leading the technology race. And then, of course, we have nationalism, which again lead to imbalances in supply and underutilization of resources. In the resources sector, you have you have countries right now declaring that certain resources are a national security asset, okay, like lithium, and recently we have some countries designating that copper is also a national security asset. Why? Because copper is important for the transitioning into the electrification of the global infrastructure. So when you have all this nationalism and utilization, then of course it will lead to imbalances in supply, and therefore, it can create cycles in the commodity cycle. And one of the other thing that nationalism is is showing is how it impacts us Malaysians actually is in the price of rice. Now, India, because of skyrocketing inflation in India, partly due to the weakness in the rupees, India has decided that it will stop exporting white rice. So what happened is that as Malaysians, we see the price of rice rising from $20 over to $30 over, and right now from 20 over ringgit to 30 over ringgit, and right now is more than 40 ringgit per 10 kg packs. So this is how things can actually, one country's decision can actually influence the global consumption market. Okay, then of course we have inflation, okay, which is often very hidden. Okay, for example, like US said that we are winning the inflation war because year-on-year inflation has come down from 9% right now to just about 3.2%. And you can see that the US has been shifting its goalposts. Okay, so government always have something to hide in the inflation figure because it actually helps to create optimism in the economy. Now, if you want to really know about the US inflation, go to a website called shadowstats.com, where the person has been following US inflation by using the same measurement of metrics used by the governments during the Reagan era. And you will see that inflation right now is actually more than 10%. But since the 1980s and then the 1990s, the US government has shifted the goalposts in measuring inflation, okay? So that inflation is hidden, okay? Because inflation is actually a stealthy tax on the people's purchasing power. And that is why, you know, it's hidden somewhere. Like in the October recent inflation report, everything looks nice until someone actually went deeper and said that there's a 34% drop in the insurance premium. But the actual fact is, the papers themselves are reporting that insurance premium will rise next year. So this is how goalposts are being shifted, putting, you know, creating a lot of how the information on inflation is being propagandized. Okay. Then of course we have real estate problems which will escalate across the globe due to high interest rate. We have the CRE, commercial real estate market problem in US, okay, which have seen buildings sold at 50 to 70% discount because they have no vacant, you know, they have no tenants. Vacancy is about 50%. For a building to be very successful, they need occupancy to be more than 80%. Okay, but with vacancy hovering around 50%, a lot of them are selling at a huge loss. And of course, the biggest exposure to the real estate market will be the medium and regional banks in the US. Not only that, Canada is also having a real estate crisis right now. And even in Australia. And I think in Malaysia, we are seeing, you know, some a bit of stagnant in some places. And because the high interest rate cannot sustain the real estate to continue to grow, okay? Because the world has largely been dependent on debt to fuel growth. In the 1970s, our parents can survive with a mortgage loan, even though interest rate is more than 10%. Okay, but right now in a financialized environment, because people consumption is driven by debt, okay, people's investment sometimes is also driven by debt, okay, by extreme leveraging. So because debt has been driving the growth of the economy for the last few decades, you know, it has spurred tremendous debt, not only in the real estate, but across a wider spectrum of the economy. And at a high interest rate, something will actually break. Of course, I think there are pockets of growth in China, ASEAN, Latin America, and Africa, especially China, which is now, despite its real estate, you know, the real estate, everyone is saying China's lemon moment in 2021 when Evergrande defaulted. Okay, everyone say, oh, this is China lemon and China will collapse, you know. So I think if you follow a lot of the Western narratives, China has been collapsing for the last 20 years. But right now, China is actually intentionally bringing down the real estate because that is unsustainable. Because real estate, for it to continue to be sustained, it has to be driven by debt. And right now, you see China is transitioning in that high-tech manufacturing is actually increasing at a very fast pace, just as the real estate is actually declining. And in ASEAN, because of its close relationship with China, and there have been ASEAN's trade with China has grown tremendously. There's a lot of investment, okay, like in the railway network and such. So ASEAN would continue to do rather well. Now, Latin America, Brazil has been having trade surplus after for many quarters after the disastrous period of Bolsonaro. Okay, and right now Brazil is like the darling of the investors, and of course recently Argentina, they have a new president, which I think will not serve Argentina well, because he intends to privatize everything. So he intends to walk out of any trade deals with China and Brazil. And these two countries are Argentina's largest trade partners, and he said he will disengage with them thoroughly. And of course, we have emergence of Africa. Africa, a lot of us have given little thought to Africa, but Africa is fast changing. And because you have countries like China building up Africa's infrastructure, and Russia as well, helping the African economy. And that is why I think Africa will be another spotlight, okay? And of course, we have energy and tech related business, which continue to shine because of imbalances in the supply, sanctions, trade war, tech war, and new breakthroughs in technology. Our book, for the Dragon Year, we actually go more into detail on specific areas where which technology sector, and even our book, Unlock Your Wealth Potential, we break it down to multiple different sectors as well. Yeah, next slide, please. So in terms of financial, okay, as I mentioned, there'll be challenges because of the real estate crisis in developed nations. Here I mentioned developed nations, yeah, okay, because they are in greater trouble, even in Europe. Zombie corporations that rely on credit to fund operations are in trouble. In fact, bankruptcies in the US year to date in 2023 have reached the same level not seen since 2010. Okay, that was just after the global financial crisis. And bankruptcies in other countries are also rising, especially in the Europe zone. Then we have consumer credit exceeding high in a high interest rate environment. And then we have money supply growth has fallen into negative territories in US and Eurozone. Now, money supply growth is important because it is the result of creation of credit. When the creation of credit is withdrawn, then the money supply growth would naturally be coming down. So that means that previously we have government's 0% interest rate, government buying the bond to inject liquidity. Okay, but when they start hiking interest rate, then we have a liquidity event, early part of this year, when we have several banks failing. Now, the next event that will unfold is actually a credit event, because everyone is withdrawing credit. Okay, there's the banks, being the major lenders, are very skeptical on people's ability to repay. So that's why their interest rates are much higher, and they are more careful in approving loans. So that is why we will see a credit event unfold. And if we look at it, the past few decades, economic growth have been driven by creation of debt, which is creation of credit. Then you will know where we are heading towards too. But of course, Evelyn, you have something to add?
Yeah, that's right. One of our participants says that the slide seems to stop. Is the slide okay or not? Because from my side, it seems to be still okay. We are in 2024 financial. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So it's okay. So now, I think where credit is concerned, it will affect large portion of the businesses and also the real estate. But I think, if you are an eager investor, you need to maybe sit up, okay, and let the credit event play out, and then the opportunity to buy distressed assets will surface eventually, okay. And At the same time, I think the China's real estate would have bottomed. And because I think a very interesting news just came out in just yesterday, in that China is exploring duplicating the Singapore HDB kind of format of public housing to spur cheaper housing for the masses, especially in areas surrounding the major cities. Part of the reason is that because of the high cost of real estate, families are postponing, people are not postponing having families. And with China's demographic problem, I think there's an urgent need to address this so that they make it cheaper to start a family, and they will be looking at adopting the format similar to the Singapore HDB. Now, if let's say China adopt that format, I think it will be on a monstrous scale. And if you like, if let's say, if you watch how distressed some of the Chinese not property developers, but perhaps construction companies and building material supply companies, that is the place to watch if you want to monitor with announcement of these kind of projects. Then perhaps these construction companies and cement companies can actually see some opportunities. In fact, a lot of the cement companies in China has fallen, and steel companies have fallen by around 50 to 60% from 2 years ago. Yeah. Next. Then on geopolitics, I think the challenges would be existing conflicts will extend and become wider. Because right now you see that even in the South China Sea, there's a building up, okay, of NATO come US cooperation with some regional players. And in the Middle East, I think the plan is always how to contain Iran, not so much of the Saudi Arabia, but more on Iran. And of course, the Russia-Ukraine war is going to continue indefinitely as long as Ukraine does not surrender, okay? Because Russia is on a winning spree. Ukraine has already their entire young generation of men has already been almost liquidated or incapacitated. And right now there are news that they are using women, okay, to go to fight the Russians. So Russia knows that they are in a stronger position, and they will not trust NATO, because after the Minsk II, the Minsk I and Minsk II agreement, they know that they have been played out by NATO, and so Russia will insist whatever settlement will be on their choice and demands. So that's why I think if the Ukraine or NATO side refuse to surrender, then it will become very long-driven affair. And if it becomes long-driven, then Europe will be in greater problem as well economically, because a lot of resources then will be used to push the war, to continue the war, or in support of Ukraine, and leaving the local consumption and local economic growth to be impacted. So chances of new conflict could start due to changing geopolitical trends and ambitions. The dollarization will gather momentum. In fact, our Water Rabbit year, we predicted a lot of things, whereby the renminbi would be widely used. And in our book, Unlock Your Wealth Potential, we have a topic on the dollarization, where what we predicted came true as well. Just yesterday, China and Saudi Arabia agree on a $7 billion swap, whereby Saudi Arabia would hold renminbi to be used for oil trade. And this we predicted eventually would happen. Why? Because the renminbi can be readily exchangeable to gold at the Shanghai Gold Exchange. So it is so-called indirect gold backing the currency. And of course, we have people saying that, well, China is selling US treasuries to support, the devaluation of the renminbi, because renminbi has fallen so much. So China has been forced to sell US treasury to get the US dollar to buy back the renminbi. Now, this is actually quite nonsensical, because the only time a bank would support the devaluation of a currency is when there's hyperinflation. But China has low inflation. Now, the only reason why they are selling US treasuries to secure dollars is because China need to have more renminbi. And because China has a trade surplus, which a huge portion of it is in US dollar, therefore it needs to recycle the US dollar into renminbi to be able to use for all the swaps with other trading nations, so that it can internationalize the renminbi. Okay. Then of course there's the structural change in the global financial system. If you have been following the news, probably in 2024 we'll see some announcement regarding the CBDCs. Okay. And of course there'll be some opportunities, but it will require you to be, to have a time of perseverance and patience, because even though events may be moving fast, the faster it moves, the more cyclical it becomes for the market and more volatile it is. And therefore, you need to be more, you need to exercise some patience and also have perseverance as well. And hedging is important amid the turmoil, because if, let's say, we have a transition to CBDC or central bank digital currency, then there'll be some turmoil, because some people will reject it. Okay. And most importantly, you need to look at investing in stable regions. So these are some tips in going into 2024. But of course, our book, both Unlock Your Wealth Potential, have a 5-year analysis of what to expect. And also in our Dragon Wood Yearbook, we have specific areas which we think could be worthwhile the investment consideration. Back to you, Yuki.
Yeah. Okay, so actually stable regions also include those growth region. In our Unlock Your Wealth Potential book, we have that. What are the so-called stable regions in the world? So I think next is technology. One more slides, BC.
Yeah, I think technology will be the driving factor that will change the way we do things moving forward. And the challenges, as I mentioned, is global imbalances due to sanctions and tech war between Russia and China specifically. Because Europe is totally out of the picture. Okay, the biggest contributor of patents where technology is concerned is China, but where certain technology on chips, artificial intelligence, then US have the advantage. So a major shift is occurring in technology adaptation, especially in blockchain. As I mentioned, CBDC will be on the blockchain basis. Then we have AI, okay, playing a role. And even in AI, there's a transition that is both sides of the divide between US and China. Now, US see AI as a service. And therefore, US invests a lot in how to use AI to enhance, okay, the finance, banking, and other types of services. But in China, AI is used for high-tech manufacturing. Okay, so how to use AI to allow robots to self-learn, solve problems and such. Then of course we have AIoT, which is artificial intelligence of things. And of course, with the introduction of like recently we have some companies introducing IoE, which is the Internet of Everything. Okay, combining, using the internet to control multiple devices in different areas. Okay, we have autonomous driving, batteries, material science, robotics, quantum science, and quantum computing. So all these are actually going to reveal themselves, okay, not only next year, but over the next 5 years, and we will have more opportunities to understand where it will lead us. Of course, then in the coming years, there will also more talks about space economy, especially when in 2024, the space race between US and China will pick up. There'll be a lot of talk about putting the first space travel to the Earth, to the moon, and there'll be talks about how to expand exploration within the solar system. So if we just look at the Earth economy itself, the technology phase would be the electrification of the global infrastructure, combining AI into the management of global cities, and how each and small parts, okay, from robotics to batteries to autonomous driving will play a role in the electrification of the Earth infrastructure. But another new economy is opening up, and that's the space economy. In fact, there are talks that China would expand their current space station to include more modules, and this would actually put a stress on resources, because the space economy has not developed into a stage whereby we can do harvesting of resources on the moon. Okay, until we reach the moon, it will take some years before we secure a moon base. China actually has an intention to build a moon base with Russia, I think, by 2033, if I'm not wrong. Okay, and then that's when things will get more exciting as we harvest the moon resources. Whether then the economy, the industrialization of the moon will take place, or will the resources be brought back to Earth? Okay, so that's another thing to think about. And what are the opportunities? Now you will see that China will emerge as a major tech power by just the sheer size of STEM graduates that China is churning out, and because of the differences in political agenda. A lot of the Chinese scientists from the US have moved back to China. The last count is that almost more than a third of them have actually moved back to China. That's why China will continue to grow. Okay, and new breakthrough that will alter the current state of tech development, especially in the area of quantum computing. And also new materials that may replace the current silicon chips that will actually bring another upscale, okay, in technology development. And of course, regional adaptation of tech to drive new economic models. And we are already seeing this in Indonesia and a bit in Thailand. Okay, for example, BYD is building a factory in Thailand. CATL and BYD is helping Indonesia develop its battery chain all the way to autonomous driving. Okay, why? Because Indonesia is one of the world's largest producer of nickel. So Indonesia is saying that I will not export nickel anymore. If you want my nickel, you have to help my industry to grow so that the nickel will be consumed locally, and then you can manufacture your batteries locally and then bring it back to wherever you want to sell them. So that is why we are seeing that countries that are very alert to the to the potential of technology, they will leverage on their position, okay, to force companies that are interested in their resources to develop their economy. So, of course, Thailand has a large consumer population. They also have been, previously Thailand has been a major manufacturer of Toyota and Ford American cars, but right now they see the potential in EVs. So they have invited multiples of Chinese brands to open their manufacturing in Thailand. Okay, I think this is the last slide for me. Back to you, Evelyn.
Okay, so you can actually, if you're interested to know more about 2024, you can download a free chapters of our book. The chapters consists of a breakdown of the prediction of the year, using different methods in Chinese astrology, and also the performance of each of these industries that I talk about. Based on 5 elements, we can categorize most of the industries into the 5 elements and how they will perform in 2024. Okay, so the book is 112 page. I think I have put in the free chapter for you to get a feel of what it looks like. And if one more good news is that you guys can actually get this book for free if you enroll in our membership. Okay, we have a membership which we call Astrology and Global Trends membership, where every month, end of the month, we will give a prediction of what is upcoming in the next month. For example, what will the world attention be? And you can, and the membership itself is actually 168 ringgit. You can buy the ebook. It's only available in ebook, which is about 40 ringgit. It's about 8.99 USD. And then you discount that, so the membership is only 128 ringgit per year. Okay, this is per year, not per month, for the whole year. And then you will get our update, our monthly forecast update, and a full presentation file with a full video content, because when we release it to the public in our YouTube channel, we will sort of, edit off some of the key points, and a private Telegram group of Q&A. Then the foresights, because some people, they are into investing, maybe into trading also. Some foresights will enable you to make a better decision and potentially also, enhance your investment portfolio. So membership also will get an early access to our annual astrology and global trends talk, which especially we do it for our member only. So roughly, this is what in the Telegram group that we share, that what potentially will the stock market be, some of it, and and what are the things that have been shared by PC also on the trends itself on this one. So that means you will have a better foresights for you to guide you. Okay, this is what I mean, like when you have our member. Okay, so yeah, I already stated that you can get the membership is 168, and then once you buy the book, you can discount 40 ringgit. So every month is like less than a cup of Starbucks coffee. So to enroll as a membership, actually you can you can go to here. Let me just share with you. Yeah, just a very short instruction. Even the ebook, how to download and everything, I have everything here. So if you want the membership, you just go into here. Am I sharing the screen or not? Yeah. Okay. And then you come to this form here, you key in your details. And after that, you can click to this link to purchase the book first, which is in our ebook publisher platform. You purchase the book. After that, you pay for the membership at 128. This is the Stripe payment link. You click on here, and then you add the file as a proof. Once you purchase the book, there is an invoice right from the publisher. You add the file as a proof of purchasing. Then you will receive your confirmation to be our member, and you will be accepted to the private Telegram group as well. Okay. I think yeah. So any questions?
Okay, Evelyn, can you paste the link to join a membership
Can.
at the chat box? Yeah.
Can. Hold on for a while. Okay, let me just paste it here. Okay, hold on.
While Evelyn is at it, Jack Lee has a very interesting question, which is, do you foresee a big recession in the year 2024, which can drag the S&P 500 a big plunge? Seems like QE can save this, right? Now, I believe that there won't be any major crash like let's talk about 20% crash or something like this. But according to a very well-known momentum structural analyst called Michael Oliver, he predicted that there will be a gradual decline in the S&P without major huge movement. But over the longer trend, let's say after a year or 2 years, then people will realize that the S&P has actually fallen quite significantly. That's according to his analysis based on over a long period of momentum structural analyzing. And of course, the key event to look out for is March 2024. Now, if we have reached that point in 2024, it will be the anniversary of March 2023. Now, what happened in March 2023? We have 4 banks coming down, and it was saved by the combination of the FIDC as well as the Fed by providing them short-term loan, okay, to provide them the liquidity, because the amount of assets that they hold have already collapsed in value, because banks were encouraged to hold US Treasury. When they were buying US Treasury, the yield was just at, let's say the 10-year yield was just about a little bit over 1%. Right now it's 4%. So that means that, their value has fallen drastically. So of course the FIDC and the Fed came in and offered the short-term financing, BFTD, I think, I'm not sure, can't recall the terminology. And these banks that borrow from that loan will have to start repaying in March 2024. And the thing is, when it first started, the loan, the amount of application was just in the tens of billions. Right now, it has reached a new record high of 108 billion. Okay, so that if there's any huge seismic change, it will likely happen in March 2024. And if let's say the banks cannot repay that short-term loan, okay, then probably they have to take up additional financing, okay, and roll over the loan for maybe another year. And if at some point in time, I believe that the Fed will realize that it cannot be safe anymore. And before that happens, I believe that the Fed will then start QE. But before they start QE, they would want to do yield curve control, which means managing the long-term yield lower. Okay, so of course, these are all financial gimmicks, because at the end of the day, there are only 2 choices that the US can make. Number one, to save the economy, it has to do a lot of QE. And to do a lot of QE, it will result in increase in inflation and a fall in the value of the US dollar. Now, if it wants to protect the US dollar, then it has to maintain the rates, the interest rate, which will then collapse the economy, collapse the stock market. And then the US dollar will be saved. But if we understand the Fed, now for those who are still unaware, the Federal Reserve is not a government agency. It is owned by a number of private bankers like JP Morgan, okay, which all have stake in the economy. So the Fed will save the banks. They won't allow the banks to fail, because that would mean, all the banks that hold stakes in the Federal Reserve will actually be wiped off. So that is why eventually it will save the banks, and likelihood there'll be QE. Now, if that happens, US dollar will weaken, commodities will do very well. It will be a major commodity bull cycle. That's as much as I can tell you.
Okay.
Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, there's one participant, Jack. He's asked, he wants the website that you mentioned about the inflation, the fella that follow the inflation cycle since Reagan's time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he wants that. Now maybe you can just put it in the chat box. And we still have Q&A, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can feel free to ask us any questions.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, I think all already been answered.
Yeah, I don't think we have any more questions left.
Yeah.
So
any more questions?
If no, then we are going to end the session very soon. Thanks everybody for participating today. And I paste the link again. So if you want to find all the links, it has been put up on this webpage by Evelyn. So it is in the chat box. Just click that one, 5elementsharmonylife.com. And you will get to this page where it's shown on screen. So all the pages there. Again, if you want to get on the membership Astrology and the Global Trends, you should buy the ebook first, right? Buy the ebooks, and then you get the receipt, and then you can then join the membership.
Yes, that's
a question there. What's the hexagram for 2024 by Wing Kiang?
Oh, the hexagram. Actually, this one, it's abundance. Actually, it's abundance. This one is not your regular pillar, sort of hexagram. We use as the evaluation of the year. We call that 值年过. Okay, it's not based on the year pillar where you translate into, because next year the 甲辰 has a hexagram by itself, right? It's not the hexagram. So for the year one, we look at the evaluation of the year is actually abundance. But abundance is actually a good hexagram. It also has, anything that in Chinese metaphysics, we also have black and white, yin and yang. Okay, so it also has its downside also. So in the book, I will explain the downside of the abundance hexagram. Okay. Yeah, we still have questions coming.
Sometimes it also means abundance of problems. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, feng. Yeah. So will our ringgit strengthen in 2024?
I think if the US weaken, yes, but I think we will not go back to the period where ringgit is at 3.2 to the US dollar. Even if the US dollar weakens significantly, ringgit will strengthen to a certain level that reflects its current debt, its current economy. So don't expect if the US dollar crash back to the DXY falling back to 69, okay, during the global financial crisis. I don't think that will happen, and I don't think ringgit will go back to the past few years, almost the decade period of 3.2. Probably we'll still, right now we are at about 4.6. We will probably go back to about closer to 4 in that region, mainly because it will be reflective on our economy and also our debt. Not to forget that our debt has also grown quite a lot during the last few years. So hope that answers your question.
Okay. Yeah, I think Lynn. Yeah, Lynn has the questions. This is more for me to answer. Okay, she says that she wants to start a fashion business. 2024 can or not? It's not to say can or cannot, okay? It also has to align with your own your own life energy. That means your own energy and your own discern whether that year is a good year for you, to start a business. And if not, there are also strategies that can help you to overcome that, to do this. Okay, every year you can start a business, but it's just that whether how you create, how you plan for it, and how you created the results. That's the most important thing. Okay. So yeah, I hope this answered the questions. Okay,
Okay,
so
good.
yeah,
There are
I
more
think Bing Tiang
questions.
is also expert in hexagram. Is hexagram number 55? Yeah. Okay, so
Steve Fu has a question. What is the possibility of US markets like US Nasdaq having a major correction next year? Now, I think one of the key things is that right now, even though the S&P is moving up, it is being carried by the Magnificent Seven, the 7 technology stocks. And if you look at their valuation is very, very rich. Okay. If let's say there is a correction, it will happen. A major correction could happen if, let's say, something breaks in March 2024. But in between now and then, I think investors will be more interested in knowing the Q4 results, because a lot of the sanctions against Chinese technology were reinforced and expanded in the month of October. So that means that some of the tech companies that enjoy the kind of sales or revenue they get from China is going to be deeply impacted. So, for example, let's say Nvidia after the ban, after they expanded the ban on the sale of AI chips, Nvidia came out and said that, oh, we can offer a lesser performing chip. But then people in China, they were saying that, well, your lesser performing chip even underperformed Kirin 9000. So why should we buy from you? Okay, so these are the kind of challenges that a lot of the tech companies in the US would face, because China still accounts to about 20 to 40% of their business. Qualcomm is even worse, because a lot of Qualcomm chips are being sold to the smartphone business in China. So that is why what China does over the next few quarters will have an equal impact on the performance of the US companies. But if if my honest opinion, not financial advice here, if you look at the valuations, roughly you will see, which side will have lower risk but better returns. Okay, you just need to do a peer-to-peer comparison between the PE ratio, the balance sheet, and all those. Now, people are even commenting that Apple, for example, Apple has steadily seen their sales in China, their most important market, decline, and looks like Huawei would reestablish itself as the #1 and push Apple down. So, and Apple also have a lot of problems, and people are now commenting that Apple has lost its objective. It is no longer selling devices, but it's acting like a hedge fund. Because why? Because of its huge cash of hundreds of billion, more than 100 billion. Apple is behaving like a hedge fund. Okay, no longer focusing on coming up with innovations and such. And their Apple iPhone 15 didn't perform to there were a lot of complaints, overheating and such. And Huawei has already direct satellite communication. Okay, but Apple still is only able to do texting only. So I think at some point in time, people will realize that the valuation among these kind of giants in US is way too rich, with that kind of growth potential being increasingly being restricted. Why? Because China is the major consumer of electronics, and if let's say they cannot get access to it because of the US government policies, then these kind of tech companies would be the end loser. Yeah.
Okay, actually we have two more questions. They are quite similar. One is from Chi Kyung, another is from Kennedy. Fire equals to technologies. Is it a semiconductor year? Technology sector will flourish in 2024. Yes, it will flourish, but you have to do your homework in order to invest in tech companies. Because some tech companies are not really the tech company, so-called technology company. So depends on what sort of technology that they have. Is it something that people still want, or is it something that has been obsolete? Because technology moves very fast. Everyone can claim that they are technology company. I think in Brusa also we have list of hosts of company who claims that they are technology company, right? BC. Yeah, okay. So do your homework. If you don't, or if you, I know if you find that doing homework is a bit too tedious, you can always buy information. We always have programs from KC Lau's platform that do research into all these things that you can look into. Okay. I'm also one of the members in KC Lau's program. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess we have covered all the questions. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending. So do follow PC and Evelyn on their Facebook page and also the YouTube channel. So thank you everybody for attending, and hope you have a great lunch. And we will have the next webinar coming up on next week. We will have Ian to talk about a stock. And then also on Friday, we'll have a property session as well. We have a expert, Charles, who are going to come and talk about the updates on property market in Malaysia. So stay tuned on my announcement on Telegram channel, on Facebook page, and also my email if you are not in the list. So please subscribe, go to kcl.com. So thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, okay.
Have a great day.
So see you. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, Evelyn. Thanks, PC. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.